Okay, I'm back for another Portable Clint. Okay guys, if you go to the Hollywood Dictionary and look up working actor, you're gonna find this guy's picture. Get in here, Spencer Garrett. Yeah, yeah. Spencer Garrett, how are you, friend?
I'm fantastic. What a fancy venue. I love this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I didn't even know this existed here at the Farmers Market. Actually, I did, but I've never been up here before. This is fantastic.
9 out of 10 of my guests have said the exact same thing. They never know this was up here or they forgot about it.
And 4 out of 5 doctors surveyed.
That is true.
Recommend. Yeah.
That is true. Please don't tell anybody about this place.
I will not. Nobody won't say a word.
Okay.
Nobody knows, and I'm not awake yet. So.
Oh, well, you're about to be awake. We're about to go. Wait. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. We're gonna get live. Okay. Spencer,
Clint.
I could go. I want to start from the beginning, but I want to ask a question first.
You're going to go back a long way.
I'm going to go back a long way.
Okay.
I'm going to start off with a question.
Yeah.
How does one actor have 204 IMDB credits?
Is that the end of the question?
End of question. Wait, 204 IMDB credits. I've never seen somebody over 200.
I'm 93 years old.
Well, but that's just it.
I've been doing this since the 1930s.
Well, that's just it. I would believe it more if that was the case, but it's not, because your first credit was in '89, I believe it was?
It's pretty close. I think so, yeah. 89, or maybe, I mean, the very first thing that I did when I got my SAG card was actually a film called Limbo that my mom was in 1973. I think I was 8 years old, and I was Taft-Hartley. And I got my SAG card, and that's what made me eligible to get into the Guild. But then there was a long jump in between of years before I actually started acting in earnest. But yeah, probably 88, 89, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in order for you, I have to go back further back than normal.
Okay.
Okay. Let's get your parents. Let's talk about your parents for a minute. First of all, your dad was my theatrical agent. He booked me on a Vengeance Unlimited. You know, I'm still with Film Artists Associates. Commercially.
I did not know this. Did I know that? Did I know that my dad was your agent?
I don't know, but Dick Heckenkamp, he booked me on my first theatrical job at Film Artist.
By the way, I just have to say that I'm wearing a hat in honor of you.
Thank you, friend.
Because nobody rocks a hat better than Clint Cole.
Thank you.
And so I've got a rather substantial hat collection. So I was going through my hats this morning, and I thought, you know, I needed to represent with the lid. So
Spencer, I'm honored. I truly am. Thank you for doing that.
All right. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, so let's talk about Dick Heckenkamp. He, first of all, before you say anything about him, he always reminded me of like the 8th Rat Pack. Remember?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He had a very cool. He's very savvy. How do you say the word?
Swaggy.
Swaggy. Yeah, swaggy. Swaggy.
Suave, swaggy.
Yes.
Suavy.
Dick Heckenkamp.
Yeah.
Tell me about him.
He was classic. He was a classic. Old school Hollywood theatrical agent. He was brought up he was a press agent at 20th Century Fox in the 1950s. He worked with Marilyn Monroe on the 7-Year Itch, Cary Grant, Gary Cooper, and then he became an agent at MCA, the old, Universal Studios in the 1960s. And classic, like 3-button suit, Florsheim wingtip shoes, old school, like shoe leather agent. You know, he used to go around to the different studios with headshots of his clients and say, you know, this is Clint Culp. You need to put him in your episode of Mannix or whatever. So yeah, no, he was terrific and very charming, funny, fascinating guy. He was.
I only knew him for a short time because I think he moved on, or I moved on, even the theatrical department. He was the head of.
Well, he sold the agency about 25 years ago. He's now at the great agency in the sky.
Amen, brother.
Having a nice martini, nice cold martini. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he would survive and thrive in this climate in now Hollywood, because he was out of the business for about 20 years before he passed on about 5 years ago. But I mean, obviously, it's a very different business for him now.
Okay.
But he was a genuine Hollywood character.
He was a legend in my book.
He was.
Okay, now let's talk about your mom.
Yeah.
Your mom.
Another legend.
Another big legend.
Yeah.
Go ahead, if you don't mind telling a little bit about her.
My mom is Kathleen Nolan. She was raised on a showboat on the Mississippi River called the Goldenrod. My grandparents were actors, Clara Kennedy and Stephen Ellsworth, and they had a showboat. There was a theater on the boat that used to go up and down the Mississippi River out of St. Louis, and the boat would stop in little towns along the way, and people from the towns would come and they would do shows for the people.
Wow.
And then my mom, my aunt is also an actor. My aunt married an actor, so I'm soaking in it.
You are soaking in it.
I'm soaking in it. But my mom left, went off to New York City in her teens, got cast as Wendy in Peter Pan opposite Mary Martin, and then went on to do something like 800 television shows. She's got me beat by about 600.
By 600.
But then she was president, probably most notably, she was president of the Screen Actors Guild. She was on The Real McCoys.
Right.
She was Kate McCoy on The Real McCoys, and then she became president of SAG in the late 70s, first woman president of a labor union. I'm very proud of her.
Well, you should be. I mean, your parents, wow. Your whole family, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive.
And we're all fucking nuts, by the way.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
There's nothing normal about any of this. So if you're raised in a theatrical family, you know, and you still have a couple of marbles rolling around in your head, then cheers. Yeah.
Okay, Spencer, what is your first memory of Hollywood?
Getting slapped on the ass in Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I know, because I always think about, hey, when did you first think about moving to Hollywood? But you've actually...
I mean, I was born and raised here, you know, and I grew up watching. I grew up on sets. I grew up on the back lot at Universal Studios. My mom would be doing The Big Valley or Bonanza or whatever, and I grew up on sound stages and back lots and, you know, green rooms and backstages. My mom would be doing a regional theater play in Minneapolis or Chicago, and so I kind of grew up on the road. You know,
Spencer,
there's an old expression called "born in a trunk," so I was born in a trunk.
Oh, Spencer,
not the trunk of a car, like a luggage trunk.
Yeah. I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, that to me sounds like a fun time. Was it a fun time hanging out, growing up in Hollywood on the sound stages?
Oh, sure. I mean, but when she was president of the union, I would come home and, you know, Jack Lemmon would be sitting in my living room, or Cesar Romero, or Shirley MacLaine. I mean, these were people that my mom knew and hung out with and associated with and worked with, and colleagues. And so, I mean, to me, they were just mom's friends.
Wow,
I didn't really have a sense of, you know, the legendariness of who they were when I was a little kid, but I certainly do now, and, you know, I have a great appreciation for what I grew up into, and I'm very proud of it, and it's a legacy that I'm very well aware of.
Yeah, I would be proud too.
Yeah.
I'm proud to know you, so I'm proud to know your whole family.
Thanks,
your
Bob.
mom was my next door neighbor.
Yep.
So I've been connected to you since 1999 without you even knowing.
That's right.
Okay, so now let's take.
I don't know if I answered your question, but about my first memory of Hollywood.
The sound stages, which is
sound stages, and just, you know, kind of growing up on sets and being around sets and having a sense of, oh gosh, maybe this is something I want to do. I mean, I had a love for it, and I had a love for movies. I mean, growing up as a little kid, my mom would be off doing a movie somewhere, a play somewhere, and I would come home from school, and the first thing that I would do I'd plop myself down in front of the TV set and watch the $1 Million Movie in the afternoon. So I mean, I grew up, you know, adoring films and thinking that, you know, maybe someday I'd be lucky enough to be a part of that.
Okay, so let's talk about the day you did become a part of that.
Yeah.
You already kind of told me that you got Taft-Hartley because of the movie, but then you took a break. Tell me about.
Well, I took a break to be a child.
Okay, well,
yeah,
dude.
I'm still.
Okay, you took a break to be a child.
Yes.
Excuses, but tell me when you came back. Tell me
I
how
came back.
and when
I mean,
and why
I got
you
out.
came back.
I got out of college in '87, and I mean, I majored in theater. I was at Duke University in North Carolina. Moved up to New York City and finished at Fordham. And, you know, surrounded by New York City theater and having a sense that was something I wanted to do. And I think it was about '88. I got cast in a pilot, and my first experience, like being on a set with a bunch of really terrific actors, all of whom to this day we were all sort of interconnected and friends because of this pilot. It was called When We Were Young. It was with Steven Weber and Grant Show and Jane Krakowski and everybody that was in this, Dylan Walsh, everybody that was in this pilot. It was a prequel to Dynasty, to
Oh,
the
okay.
show Dynasty.
Yep, yep.
And we were all kids in high school. We were all the characters from Dynasty in high school,
wow.
like in 1959. And so we've all been friends to this day. And so that was my first memory of like being on a set with a bunch of folks my age and thinking, oh, maybe I'm pretty decent at this. I'm going to take a whack at it. So
Okay, so you get your first yes with that.
yeah.
Is it just always been yes? Because
Shit. It's just been sunshine and roses.
well, no,
and
dude. When I
unicorns. And,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Which I know it's
money
not.
falling
right.
from the sky. No,
I know it's not.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
okay, so you booked that gig.
Yeah.
Is there a struggle?
And I went back to New York and waited tables for 2 more years after,
did?
after the pilot. Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, the pilot didn't get picked up. I went back to New York and I went back to working in restaurants.
Okay, so
which I did off and on for about 6 years in New York.
Okay, so you do that for 2 to 6 years in New York.
Yeah.
Went on your
I
next.
was a terrible waiter.
Were you?
Yeah, I was a terrible waiter. I made up for with lack of decorum and poise as a waiter with hopefully a sense of humor.
Well, yeah.
I made the customers laugh, but I was a dreadful waiter. So
Well, he
anybody
was
that
funny, though,
worked with me, I guess, yeah. But anybody that worked with me in New York in the mid to late '80s in restaurants, of which there were probably 12, I apologize.
Okay, so let's talk. So the day you quit your waiter job,
I can still carry 6 plates.
it's funny, right? And
on my arm.
and I hear the trick is don't look at the plates while you're carrying
That's
them.
true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about when you quit being a waiter. Did you quit being a waiter because you had a gig, or did you quit being a waiter because you wanted to go book some gigs?
I quit being a waiter. Well, in New York, I decided to move to Los Angeles, and then I didn't stop being a waiter. I moved to LA, and I got a job on. I get my first like pretty substantial guest star was on Star Trek.
Okay.
Star Trek Next Generation, and I remember working with all these amazing Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes, and working with all these amazing actors, and it was a great job. I knew nothing about Star Trek or Star Trek lore when I did it, and it's interesting now because I'm doing like Star Trek conventions. And,
Really, because of that?
Blast. Because of that, yeah. I mean, the fan base is pretty crazy, and crazy in a good way, and fun, and so I've been enjoying going to these conventions.
Great.
But I remember thinking, okay, I got this job, now the jobs are just going to come rolling in one right after another, and that's never the case.
But you think it is, though.
You think it is,
Okay.
you know, because you're in Hollywood, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just going to be, and I thought, okay, I got to go back, I got to work in a restaurant. And so I went and I picked a restaurant that I thought was farthest outside of Los Angeles, outside of the entertainment industry as it could possibly be. And back then, in 1990, Silver Lake was kind of like funky, artsy, boho. It's not like the chic hipster place that it is now. And I picked a restaurant in Silver Lake where I thought, this is not an industry hangout. It'll be great cover. I can just do my thing, make my money, and go home. The first night I worked there, very first night I worked there, in walks, I kid you not, it was jazz night. I don't have to say the name of the restaurant, but in walks Jonathan Frakes, LeVar Burton, Brent Spiner, Whoopi Goldberg, and that was their hangout, and they played jazz there on Tuesday nights. It was all the people that I just worked with about 3 weeks earlier.
Spencer.
So,
Spencer.
couldn't escape it.
Okay,
you know?
let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because that is my fear. If I ever have to go get a real job, I'm scared somebody's going to go, dude, what are you doing? Even though everyone has to do it, I mean, people have more. Hat off to those people who can do that.
I'll tell you a dude, what are you doing story that I tell.
Please.
I tell acting students that I teach. I teach at a great school out here from time to time called the Ruskin School.
Sure.
John Ruskin.
Yeah.
And during the writer's strike several years ago, I was walking on the picket line with friends of mine who were writers. I was walking around in a circle with a placard outside of Paramount Studios, and it was about 3 weeks into the writer's strike, and I thought, I got to get a job. We might be shut down for a while, and we were. I went back to the guy that owned the restaurant that I was in Silver Lake about 20 years earlier, now had a restaurant in Beverly Hills. I walked into his restaurant 20 years later, and I walked in and he said, oh my God, you're doing so great. I'm so proud of you. I see you on TV all the time. And I said, that's great, Larry. I need a job. And he said, what do you mean? I said, the writers are on strike. I said, I need to make some dough. He said, when can you start? and he put me on the floor that night as the maitre d', and I worked there for 5 months during the writer's strike.
Look at
and
you,
I had
man.
And I had a blast. And
really?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, in the middle of that, I got Public Enemies. In fact, when I was doing Public Enemies in Chicago, if you had
with Johnny Depp,
with
right?
Johnny Depp
Yeah.
and Christian Bale and Marion Cotillard, and amazing. My first experience working with Michael Mann, who is extraordinary, and if you had more than 5 days off on the film in Chicago, rather than keep you there in the hotel, they would fly you back home, and then they would fly you back to the set.
Wow.
So I would call the restaurant from Chicago, and I'd say, I'm coming home to LA, do you need me on the floor? So I was doing this
Look at you,
$200 million
man.
movie for Universal, and then working at the restaurant at the same time. And, you know, it's like, work is work, man. Work is work. It's, when I think about that wonderful actor from The Cosby Show,
yes,
you know,
from
that
Trader
was sort
Joe's.
of the Trader Joe's,
yes,
Jeffrey, who was sort of shamed on social media because he was trying to earn a living.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to get my rent paid, and there's no shame in that. So people would come in during the writer's strike, and executives, casting people would come in, and they'd do a double take when they saw me in my suit at the podium at the front of the restaurant. They'd say, "What are you doing here?" I'd say, keeping the lights on, putting gas in my car, you know.
Spencer, wow, I just gained, see, I'm always worried that people are going to lose respect for me. I just gained so much more respect for you.
I have no respect for you anyway, but I'm kidding.
No, I know. But seriously, that's a thing that I'm thinking, wow, man, my hat's off to you on that, dude, that you did that. There you go, boom, thank you. Okay, so I feel like we kind of skipped too far.
Sorry.
Let's go back.
I like that. I like telling that story.
Good.
Though, actually,
it's a great story.
Because in the middle
tell.
of a good 20-odd year run of substantial and consistent work, it all shut down, and we don't have like giant suitcases filled with money under the bed. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So I went back to work at the restaurant, and it was interesting seeing the reactions of people in positions of power seeing me at the restaurant and saying, "What are you doing here?" And I kind of went, I'm doing what I got to do.
Well, seriously, that's awesome.
Work is work. I love being an actor, but I also love I love working.
Yeah,
I love people. So I'm lucky that way.
So there's a booking, there's a credit that you have that I'm very jealous of. I mean, I could be jealous of
Family Matters.
No, why Family Matters? I'm just curious. Out of all of your 204 credits, why Family Matters?
I was joking.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, wait, is there something I needed to know?
I was Larry Johnson, the wacky white neighbor from next door.
Really?
Yeah. Not a lot of people know that, but that's...
okay, I'm going to get back to that in a second.
You don't have
to. Okay, here's the credit.
Yeah.
Columbo.
Oh, wow. The best. He was the best.
Tell me about that whole experience. I don't care if we spend the next 20 minutes talking about that, because I love Columbo so much. Give me something, please.
Okay. I get an appointment to meet Patrick McGoohan, the great Patrick McGoohan actor from The Prisoner, great show, The Prisoner in the 60s.
Yes.
Silver Streak.
Silver Streak the movie?
Silver Streak the movie. He was the bad guy.
Yes, he
Silver
sure
Streak.
was.
He was also a very well-known television director in his own right.
He was a great character.
I get an appointment to meet him at Universal for this role in this. They're rebooting Columbo, or Peter Falk is coming back and doing many years later. He's coming back and doing some movies of the week. And
I think there was 12 of them he did.
Something like that, yeah. And I sat down with Patrick McGoohan, who I was really in awe of. I loved him as an actor,
yes.
And I sat down, and he's looking at my resume. And back then, sometimes you got cast off of your tape, your your demo reel, your VHS tape. And so he said, "You're a very interesting young actor, my boy." He said, "I've seen your tape, and I think you'd be a wonderful Roger Gambles," which was the name of the character. And he said, "I really like some of the scenes that were on your reel, and I feel like we could really." It's a terrible English accent.
No, you know what? You actually sounded like him for a second.
For a second, and
then
I just went totally off the rails. I don't know where, but sorry, Patrick. And he couldn't have been lovelier. And he said, "Would you like to join us?" And I said, "Yeah, great." And I'm thinking, when is he going to ask me to read some sides or something? And it was just set up as a meeting. I wasn't given any material to read, but I thought, well, he's going to make me audition, surely. And that was it. He was like, wonderful. He said, let's drink to it. And he got on his speakerphone. He pushed the button on the phone, and he said, Peter, he's calling Peter Falk in his office. He said, I think we found all Roger Gamble's. And I'm quelling. I'm just vibrating with joy. And he opens up a drawer in the desk below, and he pulls out a bottle of scotch and 3 glasses. Peter Falk comes in, and he looks me up and down. He says, yeah, I think this is the kid. He's like, Pat, I think we found our guy. And I couldn't believe it. And he's, I am Peter. I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. And I couldn't believe it. This is like you're getting offered a job and a chance to work with Peter Falk. He's just a legend.
Yeah.
And so Patrick McGowan pours out 3 shots. This is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Old Hollywood.
Pours 3 shots of scotch in the glass, and he raises our glass. He says, here's to the first shot of the picture. And we all do a shot of
oh, man.
scotch. And man, beautiful. And then I show up on the set. His work ethic.
Okay,
Peter Falk's work ethic, to me, to this day, is second to none. This is a guy who had done countless episodes of Columbo as that character for years and years in the 70s, and then stopped doing it, and then came back in the 90s to do it again. And I would see him like off in the distance, and he'd be walking around in his trench coat and his cigar, working his lines, and I would see him sort of finding the character and finding his way through the scene. And I just thought, even in his late 60s, early 70s, which he was at the time, he could have just phoned this guy in. He could have phoned this Columbo character in, and he was still working through the beats, and he was collaborative and sweet and lovely, and I miss him. He was a real artist. It was a really special experience. And
you were great in that, by the way. It was a great, fun character.
You really fun. Yeah,
you did a great job on that.
He was. I remember I brought some of my own clothes. I had like a bow tie and suspenders, and I wore glasses. I acted my ass off in that show. Maybe not always for the better, but it was really sort of a wonderful, over-the-top kind of character that I don't really get to play that much. So it was, man, it was a joy.
Because you brought it because you saw everybody else around bringing it, or you saw Columbo bringing it.
That was it. I mean, that's all I needed. And Rue McClanahan, remember Rue McClanahan from the Golden Girls?
Yes.
She was part of the episode, and she was a pro. And I was just I'd been around for a while. I'd been around for about 10 years at that point, but I was still green. I was still a kid, and you get to work with somebody like Peter Falk, and and it elevates your game.
Okay, one last thing. Did he do a lot of takes, I read?
Yeah, he liked to do a lot of takes. Yeah.
Why so many takes? I mean, what was he trying? Was it different every take he did?
Every single take. Every time he did it, he put a different spin on the ball. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that was just like, for a young actor, watching a master like that. I was just a sponge. I mean, I was just enjoying soaking up the environment, of who he was, and he was already a legend. I grew up watching Columbo as a kid, and then to be standing opposite him 20-odd years later with a guy who was just this legendary person and a legendary character, an iconic television character, it was kind of an out-of-body experience. I still look back every once in a while, and I guess they replayed it recently. It was on again. And somebody sent me a screenshot of.
I remember seeing that on your Facebook.
Yeah, and I was just I still get goosebumps to think, gosh, I got to work with Peter Falk.
Okay, one last thing, and then we're moving on. Your mom's old neighbor, Brett Parsons.
Yes.
He does Columbo tours of houses that Columbo used in his TV show. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay.
I did not know that.
Noted.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to... Do I ask about 21 Jump Street after bringing up Columbo?
It's kind of a...
But I don't know why that one stuck out to me. I mean, I was always...
I mean, I've got a lot of really good stories about that.
Give me one, because I'd love that show.
It's a story that I can't tell you on national television. I can't say it.
Okay.
It involves Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and a trailer and an episode with Johnny Depp. And I'll tell it to you.
Thank you.
Backstage.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
But it was a great experience. That was one of my first things. And I remember like getting flown to Vancouver and staying at a hotel. My first time going off on location to do something. I think it was my first location job, and I remember going to Vancouver, which I thought was terribly exotic.
And that was kind of new for the business to go up north, right?
I think so. It was a huge boom of television in Vancouver and Toronto, but mostly Vancouver in the 80s and 90s in Vancouver, and now it's kind of back there again. But
okay.
But Johnny Depp.
Please let me hear it.
Johnny Depp was he was a TV star, but he wasn't a megastar.
This was him. I mean, you saw him on the going up process of his career.
Yeah.
And did he have that air of being cocky because he knew his career was going up?
He was back then. He was kind of like filling a quota at that point. He was in the last couple of episodes of the series. He'd already done, I think, Cry Baby and maybe a couple of other movies.
This is when Richard Grieco came in, right?
Yes, and he had already done a couple of movies, so his star was on the rise already.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I remember. Not to knock him at all, because he's
wonderful.
We had an enormous time, a great time working on Public Enemies years later, and he told me this story about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which I'll tell you later. But I remember Johnny he showed up and he was a little bit late, and I remember he said he walked down and I was sitting there with Peter DeLuise, and he said, "Okay, am I supposed to be happy or sad in this scene?" And that's when I thought, okay, you're done. You've already moved on. You're already a movie star. If I ever get to the point where I say,
ask that question,
after doing this for 35 years, if I showed up in a scene with you and I said, "Hey Clint, am I happy or sad in this scene?" You can punch me in the fucking face.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spencer, I can't go over every one of your credits because, like I said, 204 credits. Tell me something about how to get 204 credits. I got 98, just to let you know.
That's a lot.
Well, but still, it's no 204. Tell me something.
I mean, I started in 1986 or 1987. I mean, it's just perseverance.
I mean,
you've got almost 100 credits. I mean, a lot of those are recurring. Those are 5 episodes of Next Generation, 4 episodes of this, 3 episodes of that. So it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was your longest job out here?
My longest job. I did a series called Hits, H-I-T-Z.
I remember something about
with
this.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yes.
Oh, you're the one.
Yes, but I do totally remember that.
It was a sitcom on UPN, and it starred Andrew Dice Clay and a very young me, and my first sitcom. This was your first official sitcom? First official sitcom in front of a live studio audience.
Okay.
That's what they say. They say in front of a live studio audience, and it was terrifying. It was like doing theater every night. And it was a blast, but we did it for like 6 months, so that's probably the longest job I've had. I mean, if you don't count 2 seasons on Aquarius or 3 seasons on The Magicians, the longest period of like consistent work day to day for 6 months at a time. But that was back in '89.
Okay, before I get to the latter half of your career, I just got to ask you a question.
Are we already at the tail end?
Well, no. We're. You get a 5-page audition for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you just got the phone call right now for your 5-page?
It happens far too often, as you know.
Right.
Or sometimes 11 pages, and you'll get it at 6 o'clock at night, and the audition is at 10 o'clock the next morning.
Okay, so let's use that example.
Yeah.
What do you do with? Tell me how you break down. I don't want to know everything you do, but tell me what you do with your 5 to 11 pages.
I try to learn it as best I can.
How?
I've got, my own personal.
Yeah.
I write it all out. I write every character's. That's just my way of memorization.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it because obviously it works. 204 credits. Go ahead.
Yeah, I use a couple of apps, which a lot of people do. I use Rehearsal.
Okay.
And Line Learner.
Line Learner.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that one.
It's a real clever name.
Line Learner. Okay, noted. No, I get it. No, we got it.
Hold on. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Line Learner.
Okay.
But then I just take a legal pad and I print out the sides, and then I take a legal pad and a pen and I just write down the entire scene if it's 2 3 people, 4 people. I write out the entire thing, and somehow I hope that the words
I do that.
Go through my pen and somehow lodge themselves into my brain.
Somebody told me to write down each line 100 times, and when I really want to study a part by just doing it, and like I don't think you need 100 times.
That seems daunting.
Daunting,
yeah.
But I think just the act of writing something down helps you memorize it. Is that your logic?
I find. I mean, that was my grandpa's method. That's what he did. He took a legal pad and a pen and just wrote the scene out.
Basically, copying word for word what's on the script.
Yeah. I mean, it seems tedious.
Okay,
and
no, that's fine.
But that works for me. And but also, if you get something, if you get an audition the night before, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages, and you have to put it in front of a room full of suits the next morning, there's no way that you're going to deliver everything they're looking for, unless you're some sort of alien. You know, I don't know how to do it. I've never been able to. So you just do the best you can. You know.
Are you totally off book when you go into the room?
No. I print out my sides. I retype them out into a larger font.
Okay.
So the letters are bigger.
Yeah. And you're writing. Are you rewriting everybody's when you recopy
the whole thing?
Okay.
Yeah. And I print out and I print the whole scene out on a larger font so I can see it. So I'm not like struggling.
Yeah.
And that way you can hold the page out farther away from you, so you're not like this, blocking your face. And so I have the sides out, so I can use it as kind of a teleprompter.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Any other? So we can end the acting tip part of this.
I got a lot of tips. I got many.
Give me your best tip.
Well, yeah. What? Tell me what you need to know, and
I always find it hard on myself being word perfect. Like I want to be word perfect. If I'm not, I'm frustrated.
Yeah, you have to be word perfect.
I know,
because the writers.
That's right.
Need to hear their words.
That's the reason why I get frustrated.
And I have an actor friend of mine who I adore, who's a brilliant actor, but he tends to want to rewrite the writer's words.
I have
and
those
he kind of
friends.
goes astray,
Yes.
and that's verboten.
Yeah.
And I'm always like slapping him on the wrist and saying you can't do that.
I got
they
the
get
same
they get a little
friends,
cranky.
dude. Yes. No, I think this should be written this way. I mean, it's ridiculous how they wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. He's a writer on his show.
I remember
on
Mad Men, for example, which I don't know whether you heard. But you were not allowed to utter any other syllable. You couldn't say in between. You couldn't say, "Hey, Clint, it's really great to see you." You know.
Yeah.
You couldn't add any. You couldn't embellish anything. It had to be crystal clear, letter perfect, the way the writer had written it. And so I try to keep that in my head. You know, because sometimes you'll give a terrific audition, and the writer, the producer in the room will say, could you not add to my dialogue?
Yeah.
So you wait until you get the gig and you're on the set, and you can say, can I shape this so it fits out of my mouth a little bit better sometimes? But it's a fine line.
When you mess up a take on set, do you go home do you drive home thinking about that mess up?
I messed up a take 6 years ago, and I'm still obsessing.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I can't get over that.
No, never will. You take it to your grave.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm still to this day. I mean, there are things I will see scenes. I will see myself in a television show or a movie, something that I did years ago, and I'll see it on TV. And I'll go, God damn it! If I had only said gone like this instead of that.
Yeah.
It's actors. I mean, we're crazy.
Okay, so I'm going to go...
That didn't help at all.
No, it did. No, it
okay.
did. It did. Just to let me know that other people going through it, because I'm so hard on myself.
Yeah, we all obsess over, over the minutia. You want it to be perfect, and sometimes the accidents and the mistakes are the things that come out making the scene look even better.
True.
So, I know a lot of directors that love the accidents, and so the Virgo in me has to let go of the Virgo in me and just trust the process.
Right.
You know?
Okay, Spencer, I'm gonna start winding down. I mean, again, I could be here all day, but I have to wind. But I'm gonna wind down. Here's the deal: we have a good neighbor. We have a friend. His name is Chris Cordone.
Yes.
Awesome guy. We did his movie.
We did
CBD, which is a great movie.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
in fact, if you're watching, Stevie D, is it still on iTunes?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think you can. It's a wonderful, sweet little independent film, written, directed, starring Chris Cordone. He plays 2 different characters. It's a terrific little
It really
film.
is. It truly is.
And he's a real talent and a dear guy.
Yeah,
dear friend.
he's a great neighbor as well.
Yeah.
Okay, enough about Chris. Let's get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. Chris tells me, hey, did you hear about Spencer? No, what? He booked a part on a Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah.
I go, you serious? He goes, yeah. I go, wow, okay. So I remember that. And then a couple of weeks ago, they said, hey, guys, today at 12 o'clock, the new Quentin Tarantino preview is going to be released.
Who said this?
Somebody said Quentin Tarantino's preview is going to be released.
Okay.
I mean, this was like Variety saying today, or maybe it just dropped. I don't know. One day it dropped.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
like,
what the kids say.
Yeah.
It dropped.
It dropped.
Yeah.
So I turn on the preview.
Yeah.
I'm excited because I know nothing about this movie.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? I turn it on the preview. I press play. The first person's face I see is you. Dude, I'm not kidding you. I had goosebumps.
So did I.
Did you have any idea?
No. I did have an idea in that a couple of nights earlier, before it dropped, I was in a restaurant here in LA, and I ran into Leonardo DiCaprio, who was there waiting for a table.
He was waiting for a table. Leonardo was waiting for a table.
No. I was waiting for a table. I was waiting for I was waiting for a table. He walked in and he went and he saw me and had a quick conversation with me, and then they ushered him right into the restaurant.
Okay,
he like
I thought you were at Sizzler and he was waiting.
He walked past me so quickly that the heat of 1,000 suns spun me around. That's how quickly the maitre d', blew by me, grabbed him and his date, and took him to his table, as if I were a fly speck. But that's okay. That's all right. He's a megastar, and he's also a lovely guy. And so we were standing there in the entrance to the restaurant, and he said, hey, I got to tell you. He said, I just saw the trailer, and it's really terrific. And he said, yeah, and you're in the trailer. And I said, oh, that's great, man. Thank you for telling me that. He said, the movie's great. It turned out really well. He's like, no, you are the trailer. I said, what do you mean? He said, you'll find out. And so a couple of days later, I am not the entirety of but I'm in a couple of nice little moments at the beginning of the trailer, and it was really fun to see.
How did you find out about the trailer? I mean, did you turn it on and find out?
Unfortunately, I had my phone next to my bed, and the ringer wasn't off, and so people were calling me at like 5 o'clock in the morning, my time. So I was awakened by East Coast phone calls. A lot of, dude! Yeah. So there was a lot of text that said, just dude! Yeah.
It is a dude preview.
It was a dude preview. It was fun. I mean, the trailer looks incredible.
Incredible.
And I know nothing about the movie. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
I'm just excited to see it.
I do.
I'm a fan of his films, and I'm as excited to see it as anybody else.
Well, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited about you being in it. I'm excited about you. Dude, you are always you look like $1 million, dude. You always are so awesome to me.
Thank you, bro.
Dude, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your mom. Appreciate your dad, dude. Literally, I appreciate your whole family.
That means a lot to me. I did not know that part of our history, that you have history with my father. He's looking down. He's up there, and he's just like, I can't believe this kid is still in show business.
Well, good.
He was like, please be a doctor, be a lawyer, do anything. Don't be an actor. This is a guy who was a talent agent for 60 years. It's like, don't be an actor, because he knew. But I mean, once you get that first little taste of it.
Spencer, anything else? No, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, I'm just, it means a lot to me that you have that connection with my dad. You've lived across the street from my mom for 20 years. That we're connected. We're connected. We're mishpucha in a way. So,
anything last piece of advice that you could give Hollywood or those people out there?
I'm the last person that could give advice to Hollywood.
Okay.
But I got a couple of for the folks that are watching out there, I'm really proud. There's a wonderful movie directed by my friend Emilio Estevez called The Public.
Love him.
It's out right now. It's called The Public. It's with Alec Baldwin, Christian Slater, Taylor Schilling. Emilio is extraordinary in it. It was our 4th project together. It's out right now.
You and Emilio's 4th project together?
Yeah, we did. We met. He directed me on an episode of CSI. No, he directed me on an episode of a show called Cold Case.
Yes.
I take it back. Not Cold Case. They're all
I know,
204.
Yeah.
Close to Home. It was a CBS show called Close to Home. He directed me. We became friends on that show, and about a year later, he called me up and said, "I'm doing this movie called Bobby about the day Bobby Kennedy was killed, with Anthony Hopkins and Lawrence Fishburne and William H. Macy, Sharon Stone." And he said, "I'd love you to be a part of it." And that became an association that's continued to this day. He's a great pal and an extraordinary person and a dear friend. And so he's one of those directors that I would just say, I'll just drop whatever I'm doing and just say, "Where do you need me?"
Absolutely. Wait, one thing about him really quick.
Yeah.
Why so long between projects with him, you think?
The Public took 12 years to get made.
Really?
It was originally going to be done. It was going to be shot in Los Angeles at the Public Library downtown. I mean, he makes independent films, and he takes his time, and it took a lot of time to get the financing for this one. He moved to Cincinnati about 3 years ago.
Who moves to Cincinnati?
Emilio Estevez moved to Cincinnati and got his film made the movie, if you see it, it couldn't have been made anywhere but Cincinnati. It's perfectly shot in a town that I was really not that familiar with before, a city that I didn't really know. But if you look at the movie now, and please go see it because it's a beautiful film about homelessness and addiction and literacy and the public library. There's a lot of themes in it that really make it a terrific movie. But you watch the movie and you go, "There's no way I could imagine this being in the LA Public Library." It takes place on the coldest night in Cincinnati in the winter, and it's a superb film. So,
okay, thank you for bringing that up.
A little plug in.
Yeah,
for
of course.
The Public.
Dude,
I have
course.
one scene in it, and I just love being a part of his movies. So.
I do. That is cool.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to be a part of.
To any young actors out there, or any actors out there, if you ever have a chance to be on a set that is run by Emilio Estevez or work with him as an actor or a director, nobody loves actors more. Nobody respects the process more. Just a giving, generous director, and it's what we all want to work with.
I'm going to call him later.
Yeah, okay. Give me his number.
Yeah, Spencer, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Tell them goodbye.
It's such sweet sorrow. I hate to say goodbye, but see you next time, kid.